every evening, Marcus Brooks came home with grease on his hands and exhaustion in his bones, but still found the strength to smile. And in between those quiet sacrifices was Nia Brooks, 16 years old, smart, observant, the kind of girl people underestimated because she didn't speak much. But Nia saw everything. Their life wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And in a world that often overlooked families like theirs, that mattered. Until the night everything changed. It started like any other. Dinner on the stove, TV humming in the background, Marcus laughing at something small, Angela shaking her head with that familiar smile. Then came the knock. Not loud, not urgent, just wrong. Marcus frowned. Expecting someone? Angela asked. He shook his head. Nia watched from the hallway. Something in her chest tightened. Marcus opened the door. And in that moment, everything shattered. 3 men forced their way inside. Fast, precise, like they'd done this before. Angela screamed. Marcus tried to fight, but it wasn't a fight. It was control. Nia didn't move. She couldn't. Hidden in the shadows of the hallway, her body froze as fear locked every muscle in place. She saw their faces, not clearly, but enough. One of them stepped forward, calm, confident, different from the others. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't panicking. He was in charge. "Where is it?" he asked. Marcus shook his head, blood at the corner of his mouth. "You got the wrong house," he said. The man smiled slightly. "No," he replied. "We don't." Nia's heart pounded, so hard she thought it would give her away. Because in that moment, she realized something terrifying. This wasn't random. They were looking for something, and her parents knew what it was. Angela's voice trembled. "We don't have anything, please." The man stepped closer. Then his eyes shifted toward the hallway, toward Nia. For a split second, their eyes met. And in that moment, he knew. But instead of reacting, he smiled and walked away. Minutes later, it was over. Silence filled the house again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was final. Nia didn't scream, didn't move, didn't cry, because something inside her had changed. She understood. This wasn't just something that happened to them. It was something that was planned, and someone wanted it to stay buried. The police arrived, lights flashing, voices asking questions, but the answers never felt important, because from the beginning, the story was already decided. Robbery gone wrong. No suspects, no leads, no urgency. And Nia, she tried to speak, tried to describe the man, his voice, his calm, his eyes. But like so many before her, she was dismissed. "You're in shock. You didn't see clearly. You're confused." No, she wasn't. They just didn't want to listen. Years passed. Nia grew older, but she didn't move on. Because when the truth is ignored, it doesn't disappear. It waits. At 23, Nia wasn't the quiet girl anymore. She was focused, driven, and done being overlooked. She started digging, not as a victim, but as someone who refused to let silence win. That's when she found the name. Elliot Kane, businessman, respected, powerful, untouchable. But the moment Nia saw his photo, her chest tightened, because she remembered that smile, that calm, those eyes, the same eyes that looked at her the night everything was taken. The deeper she looked, the clearer it became. Her father's factory? Recently involved in a legal dispute, one that threatened a major contract, owned by Elliot Kane. Her mother's hospital? Connected to a case involving missing medical supplies. Supplies that traced back to the same network. It wasn't coincidence. It was connection. The power shift didn't come from proof. It came from persistence. Nia went public, shared her story, connected the dots, named the man no one dared to question. At first, people doubted her. Then others came forward. Former employees, whistleblowers, people who had seen things, but were too afraid to speak. Until now, the investigation reopened. This time, with attention, with pressure, with no place to hide. Elliot Kane was called in, still calm, still controlled, still believing he was untouchable. until Nia walked into the room. He looked at her, recognition flickering for just a second. "You don't remember anything," he said quietly. Nia stepped closer. "I remember enough," she replied. Then she leaned in and whispered the one detail no one else knew. "You smiled at me." The room went silent, because that wasn't in any report. That wasn't something you guessed. That was something you remembered. For the first time, Elliot Kane's expression cracked. And just like that, the power shifted. Days later, authorities searched his properties, his businesses, his records, and what they found was bigger than anyone expected. Hidden accounts, illegal operations, a network of crimes that stretched far beyond one night. Nia didn't just expose a man, she exposed a system. And as Elliot Kane was led away in handcuffs, the world finally saw what Nia had known all along. The truth doesn't need power to exist. It just needs someone brave enough to fight for it. Justice had finally arrived. But as Kane passed her, he stopped, turned slightly, and whispered something only she could hear. "You think this ends with me?" Nia froze, because in that moment, she realized something far worse than the night she survived. This wasn't just one man. It was something bigger. And somewhere out there were others, watching, waiting. And now, they knew her name. Continue for part